All right, we are back on the Frazer Smith Show. We are presented by the accident attorneys at sweetjames.com. If you've been hurt in an accident, call 1-800-9-MILLION. And joining us right now, two good buddies of mine from the Motor City. We have the great Dave Coulier and movie director, comedian Mike Binder.
Yeah.
Old buddies on the show. What's up, guys?
And let's be honest, not a lot of hair between us.
Well, yeah.
Can I borrow your comb, Mike?
Dave has
I don't need it.
Dave has a good excuse.
Dave has a good reason for that, though. Dave, first of all, congrats, man. You beat cancer. I mean, thank God. Yeah. What a hand for that.
Yeah. I will tell you, Fraze, there was no way he wasn't gonna, because his attitude was so great.
That's right. That's right. And he's a tough guy. He's a hockey player. The hockey players, you can't stop them, really. You look great. How do you feel?
Thanks. I feel great. I played hockey a couple of hours ago here in Frazer, Michigan.
All right.
And I feel really great. Cancer and chemotherapy took a lot out of me.
Sure.
I got very weak, and it affects your lungs, and it affects everything. And so I've been back on the bike, lifting weights. This is the second time I've skated, was today. And I just feel stronger every day, so it's great.
Man, that's awesome.
Buddy.
We're really proud of you.
I got to say, Fraze, I mean it. I'm so proud of this guy.
Well, yeah.
Because he handled it the whole way through. It's just energy was amazing.
And he's always joking around. I got some texts from him. I tried to be so sincere, and then he sent me these texts that were like corny and funny, and he kept his sense of humor.
Well, he's not getting up on stage, so he's got to make someone laugh.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But no, his attitude was, and it's just been so much about sharing what he's going through for other people and helping other people. And I'm so proud of him.
Well, it is an inspiration. It certainly is. Hey, you guys go way back. I want to go back to the early days when, at the Comedy Castle in Detroit. I don't know how it all really evolved, but I know you were good friends with Bob Saget, and Bob was there in those days, and Shandling and Tim Allen. Walk us through that time frame.
I met Mike. Actually, I had heard about Mike because he was on Make Me Laugh, and he had done a pilot called Apple Pie with Norman Lear. And so for me, being a kid from St. Clair Shores, Mike that was the eye on the prize right there. Here's a local Detroit young guy who's in Los Angeles making a name for himself. And so Mike was kind of the guiding light for me. He gave me a lot of hope, and he gave me a lot of ambition, to be able to think, okay, I'm going to go from St. Clair Shores, Michigan out to Hollywood. For an 18-year-old kid, that's a very lofty dream. And Mike was living that dream. So I thought, well, here's a guy who's inspiring me, And
Fraze, he was 18. I must have been 19 or 20, maybe just about to turn 20. We were kids.
So you're the old man in the equation. Yeah. So where did you guys first meet? At the Comedy Castle?
Well, the first time I opened, I was the first headliner for Mark Ridley at his Comedy Castle. He had come out to California, was watching the Comedy Store, and he contacted me and said, I want to do kind of what you guys are doing on Make Me Laugh, because there weren't comedy clubs in the normal cities. There was
New York, Chicago.
Yeah, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, but there really weren't. And Mark was the first guy that said, I'm going to take 3 comedians, a headliner, a middle, and so I opened. I did the first night for him, and Dave was the middle act, my opener, and the guy did so good it was my night. I think it was like my second night there, and I was like, shit, I don't know what I'm gonna do. This kid's really funny. He's hard to follow.
I can't follow this guy. Yeah,
at 18, and
you guys had never met prior to that?
No, we met that night.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was scared, actually, Fraser. I was scared because Mike was a big deal. He was a headliner coming in to play at the Comedy Castle, and I was just a local guy. I had only played in Detroit, and so Mike was a big deal, and I went up and I felt like, uh-oh, I just blew it with this guy because I'm getting too many laughs. And I got off stage and I was ready to apologize to Mike, and he came around the curtain, and I was just about, before I could get the words out of "I'm so sorry that I did well," that was not my intention. Mike was like, "Hey, stick around, stick around. I need to talk to you after the show. Don't leave. Don't go anywhere." And then he went up on stage and did 5 minutes about a kid with braces going on before him.
Wow. Well, you guys have been good buddies ever since.
Oh, wait, I wanted to tell you this great story. This
Oh,
is
sorry. Yeah.
one of my favorite stories. We were just kids. Like I say, I was maybe 19, Dave was 18, something like that. And we get this job to go up to Flint on New Year's Eve. Some guy's going to give us each $1,000. We could not believe it.
Wow.
We were blown away. And it's a New Year's Eve. We rented a limo and we took these two girls with us, and we went to dinner. And we get up there, and it's this youth show in a giant room with the kids way in the back, in an empty gymnasium floor
Underage
between us.
disco.
An underage
disco.
disco, and
Yeah.
it was not set up for comedy, and we bombed, right?
Well, sure.
And the guy, when we're done,
I did pretty well. I did pretty well. I don't know why Mike's looping me
Yeah,
into
what's he
that.
trying to? Yeah. Come on, Mike.
all right, he's right. He didn't.
So
Neither of us-
Dave did well. And
No, neither of us did well because the guy wouldn't pay us. He said,
what?
I'm not paying you.
Wow.
I'm not paying you. You guys bombed." And we
Uh-oh.
went home and we argued with the guy. We go home and I tell my dad. So my dad drives up with Dave and I and goes into this guy's office at work during the day, and just, I'd never seen my dad like that. He just got in his face. "Listen to me, Buster. We made a deal with these guys. You're gonna pay them." And we're not leaving until you give me those checks. Make good on those. Don't you remember this, Dave?
Yeah, it's early on in your career when one of the guy's dads has to go and get you.
And when he calls a guy Buster, that
Yeah.
kind of
He's
does
serious
it
when you
all
call
right
him
there.
Buster.
Yeah, he means business.
That was so funny.
Wow, that was wild. So you guys wound up out in L.A., and then where did you guys meet Bob Saget?
I met Saget. Mike already knew Bob
I
in
knew
LA,
Bob, yeah.
but I met Bob here in Michigan. There was a new talent night at a bar called the Delta Lady, which was 9.5 Mile in Woodward,
Ferndale.
Detroit. And so they had a comedy night there, and I had only gone on a couple times. It was a Monday night. And so the third week I was there, I went up and I did my set, and I thought I did really well. And then Saget walks in with two other comedians, Jeff DeHart and Fred Raker. And
They were on a tour together. They toured together.
it was a Comedy Store tour.
Yeah.
And so they were just looking for a place to get on stage, and they came and they jumped up, and they were so professional because I was just with local guys here. And Saget got up third. Freddie Raker went up, and then Jeff DeHart, and then Saget. Saget went up and did 45 minutes and just destroyed. And I was just thinking, man, I got a long way to go, but I want this guy. And so afterwards, I talked to Bob, and he couldn't have been nicer. And he wrote down his number on a napkin and said, "When you get to LA, call me." And so and Mike, you have a lot to do with this, why I went out to LA. Because after that show where I opened for Mike at the Comedy Castle, Mike and I sat down for hours, and Mike was so encouraging. He said, "You have to come to LA. Dave, I will help you. And I was like, do you think I'll be funny out there? And he's like, you're gonna kill, you're gonna do great. Like, I know everybody at the Comedy Store. And Mike, and it was true. Mike was true to his word. And so was Saget. I called Saget when I was out there. Bob picked up the phone. Hey, how you doing? Like, what are you doing? I'm looking for an apartment. He goes, all right, well, come on over. And I went over to Bob's apartment.
And then
Wow.
Dave and I were roommates. We got an apartment together finally in Westwood.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, who were some of the people that were at the store when you guys first got there? I mean, well, you'd been there for a while, Mike. I mean, was Letterman there and Robin Williams and those guys, or?
Sure, Letterman, Robin. But the
Yeah,
guys who were more our class were Howie and Jim Carrey and
Shandling, Saget,
Shandling.
Dennis
Shandling.
Miller.
Rodriguez.
Is that where you
Seinfeld.
met Shandling? Was when you first got to the store?
Yeah, yeah. And I used to write with Gary. I would help Gary punch up his Tonight Show sets, and Gary and I used to drive to the Comedy Store in Westwood together. And I met Gary through Bob. And then me and Saget and Shandling were the first three clients of Brad Gray.
Oh,
who was
Right.
our manager.
Yeah, just
Right.
I remember we go to Brad's apartment. It was just like a 2-bedroom apartment. One of them was the office.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
Mike, did we still use your dad for collections?
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. And how did you guys start to assimilate with that whole crew that was there?
Well, Mike, before we moved to Westwood together, we lived up at the Crest Hill house behind the Comedy Store.
Right. I forgot
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And so that place was crazy. But all the comedians after the Comedy Store would shut down for the night, they'd all go up there and party. And so I had this tiny little room. I was between apartments, and Mitzi was nice enough to give me this tiny little room. And so we were there with a guy named John Medley, who was an actor, Argus Hamilton. They had this guy named Jack Leon Packer, who was Argus's assistant, and me and Mike. And so one day,
and Tom, the guy from
Dreesen?
No, he Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Tom Wilson.
Wilson,
Oh.
Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
Wilson. So we all lived up at this crazy house up the hill from the Comedy Store on
Yeah.
Sunset.
Behind that, yeah.
It's a famous place.
So I went on the road for 2 weeks, and I came back and all my clothes were missing, right? So I'm like, somebody stole my clothes. And I'm like, do you guys know what happened? No, nobody knows. So I go to the Comedy Store that night in Westwood, and I'm getting ready to go on stage, and this guy, Jack Leon Packer, walks in wearing my shirt.
Oh no.
And I go, hey, did you steal my clothes? He goes, no. I go, well, then why are you wearing my shirt? So by the time I got home, he had taken all my clothes and just threw them back into my room.
Oh man. Wow.
Hey, remember that, Mike?
Those
Yeah,
are the days.
Courtney.
Now,
Of
how-
course.
How did the Full House thing come about? How did you get that part on Full House of Joey?
Well, Mike is also a part of this story as well. I had auditioned for Saturday Night Live, and I got hired to be a featured player by Lorne Michaels. And right before I was ready to move to New York, Brad Gray got a call from Brandon Tartikoff, who was the president of NBC. And he said, Brad, I'm not going to put Dave on the show. He said, why? He said, because I think Dave and Dana Carvey are just too close. You know, we were both long-haired, blonde-haired guys, and we did voices and characters and stuff. So, and Dana was amazing, you know. So I was at a real low point. Mike and I were flying back from Detroit on the same flight. We're sitting next to each other, and I had the Full House pilot script with me.
Huh.
So I had to go in the next day and read. So I was like reading the script, and I gave it to Mike. I go, hey, I got to read for this tomorrow. What do you think? Mike reads it, and he hands it back to me, and he goes, Dave, you don't know. He goes, I could totally see you being this guy. Who knows? This a show like this could go for 8 seasons. You don't know. And I remind Mike of that all the time, that's what he said. And I went in the next day.
I remember it perfectly, and I was more positive that I was going, Dave, you're going to get this.
You knew he was going to get it? You thought
Yeah.
so? Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why. I just said, And Dave was the best man at my wedding. Right at that time, I was getting married, and Dave was my best man, and he had to leave on the day of my wedding to go to a rehearsal, the first day of rehearsal,
Wow.
full house. And Saget was at the wedding too. Saget stayed because he wasn't in the pilot.
Did you know? Now, how did Saget get his part? I mean, did you know
Well,
he was going to be involved?
no, we shot the whole pilot with another actor by the name of John Posey playing the father, the Danny Tanner character. And so Bob got fired from
Wow.
the CBS morning program, and Jeff Franklin called me and John Stamos and said, "Hey, I want you guys to do a screen test with Bob Saget." And I'm like, "For what?" And he said, "For the role of Danny Tanner." And I said, "We just finished the pilot." And Jeff said, "Well, I need you guys to read." So we went on the set of Perfect Strangers and we did a screen test with Bob,
Wow.
fired the other actor. We had to rebuild the sets and go back in and shoot all the scenes where the previous actor was in and stick Bob into those scenes. And it was just such a weird turn of events that Bob happened to get fired and was available. And Jeff Franklin really, really wanted Bob
In the
in that
first
role.
place. In the first place, right?
Oh wow.
Yeah, but Bob
Wow.
wasn't available. It cost, and it's unheard of, but ABC, Jeff Franklin will tell you this story. It cost $1 million to
Pilot.
redo that pilot.
Wow.
Wow.
He talked him into it, and the only reason it really happened was because at that time, Tom Miller and Bob Boyette were extremely successful television producers.
Right.
They had like 6 or 7 shows on the networks. And, they just said, "No, we're going to do this. We have a gut feeling," and the rest is TV history.
Well, it sure worked out.
They said,
And that's so
"Cut
cool
him
that you got
out."
to work with the guy that you guys had met way back in Detroit
Yeah.
years
And
before,
Bob
right?
I'll tell
Full
you what,
circle.
when we met Bob, when I met Bob, same with the Bob was from Philadelphia, and he was about 2 years older than me, maybe 2 or 3 years older than me. I don't know, but he's another one of those things. He just said, "We're gonna be friends. We're gonna be friends. We're gonna be really good friends. Just watch. We're gonna be really good friends." And which kind of was like a little bit weird for me. For
A little
some,
creepy.
and I
Especially
said,
knowing Saget.
"I'm not sleeping with you, but he said, no, we're going to be really good friends." And he just, Bob liked us right away. He was one of these guys and Bob was great to all comedians, but
Yes, he was.
Bob liked you. I mean, I was friends with Bob till the day he died, and I never really had an argument with him. I got mad at him a lot, but I knew him 40 years, and you know, the my favorite Bob story, because I was really good friends with his parents. His parents treated me really well, and they'd have me over for Jewish holiday dinners and stuff. And I loved his dad, Ben. But when his mom was dying, she was she was on her deathbed, and she knew it. She knew she was in hospice at a hospital, and Bob said, "My mom wants you to come say goodbye to her," And I go into this, and I was sad to leave. She was leaving, but I was honored to go see her, and she's in the bed, and she looked beautiful. Her skin was she was so calm and relaxed, and we had this great talk. Except for Bob was interrupting us, going, "Mike, she's on her way out. Give her one last pump. Give her a stupid. Jump in there with her. I'll leave." And his mom Dolly was going, "Bob, will you stop? Will you stop?" "No, Mom, that's why I got Mike up here. He's gonna give you one last good push." And and she was just, "I'm so ready to go. I'm so happy." And Bob was making these dirtiest jokes to his mother. And it was just,
That's Bob Saget,
There
though,
you go.
right?
Yeah.
When Dolly Saget was it was right at that same time. Me and Stamos and Saget all went to visit her, and she was, like Mike said, she's laying, and they were already there, and I was a couple of minutes running late. So I walk into her room, and the light is shining down on her, and she's wearing like this beautiful chiffon dress, right? And she's sitting there and she's got this lovely smile on her face. And I walked in and I went, "Oh my gosh, Dolly, you look like an angel. And she goes, not yet.
So maybe that's where Bob got that famous sense of humor. Well, we all love Bob Saget. He was a special guy, and you guys were all really good friends. So,
Fraser, we're gonna have to cut the commercial now. We want to hear your side of this, but
well, I have really no input here, but I always loved all of you guys. And I thought it was cool that you all got to work together and are still good friends. And we miss Bob, and he was.
hey,
just
let me say from the other side of it, we loved you from the get-go. You were a Detroit guy, and you treated us so good. You had the biggest radio show, and I remember you anytime you want to come on, and you were just the greatest guy right from the jump.
Well,
I second that, because you had me on your show a lot, Fraze. And that gave me, such a huge boost, because you were so supportive and you would just let me go, with these characters and all these voices and things. And man, when you're a young comedian and someone like you supports you like that, you have no idea. Well, of course you have an idea, but I'm saying this more to your listeners and people watching. It is such a boost to have someone believe in you like that.
Especially you at the time. Yeah. You were it, and you were so humble about it. And same thing. I would go on your show and just tease you and make dumb jokes. And
you should always tease
cut
me,
the
yeah.
commercial. And you just loved it. You just said, just have fun, be yourself. You guys are great. But all the comedians from our era just always loved you, Fraze. Always.
Oh, well, guys, I appreciate that. I love you guys too, and it was great to be able to see a couple of Detroit guys making it. That was an inspiration for me, I'll tell you that. And I'm glad we're all friends still. Those days were fun, and I remember. Do you remember the turkey flying hat bit that we did a Thanksgiving show? And
it was Mr. Haney.
Mr. Haney.
Turkey flying helmet. Fraser, this is the greatest turkey flying helmet I've ever had. Yeah.
You remember. That's great, man. That's great. Hey, can you do a Bullwinkle?
Please, I got my shirt on.
Yeah. Mel's a huge fan of Bullwinkle.
Well, certainly. I grew up, with those Saturday morning characters, and they left such an impression on me. That, when I was doing them in my act, it used to get such a rise out of the audience, Popeye and Bullwinkle.
Right.
That whole Saturday, Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd and all
Nobody
those
did those. Nobody did them back then.
Nobody did them better than Dave.
Not really, and
not on stage like that.
And I always wanted to be a cartoon voice, and I started working in Hanna-Barbera when I was 20 years old. And the first show that I worked on was Scooby-Doo. And being let into that world that I had grown up with, with Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera, and to be there recording was just like, I couldn't believe
That's
it.
awesome.
Amazing,
yeah. Well, we do have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
But
okay.
But listen, hey, I'm just glad we got this together, man. I'm so happy for Dave.
Yeah. So
getting past
so
that.
Proud
of you, buddy. And
Thank you.
I'm glad you're back playing hockey. I know you love hockey.
Yeah, just real quickly, when I got diagnosed with this, I had a little bit of a light bulb moment of, I think I can help people. And so that's really kind of been at the forefront of this cancer journey for me, of, encouraging people, because cancer is everywhere now. It's insane what I've learned over the last 7 months. But pre-screenings can save your life. It saved mine. Early detection is everything. It's not a sexy subject to talk about or fun one, but colonoscopies and prostate exams and mammograms, all that stuff. I'm just encouraging people to go out and talk to your doctor and do that, because together we can beat this, and it's just make sure that you're very aware of your body and
get those exams.
Dave does colonoscopies and prostate exams in his yard now.
Hey, you got to make
So
some
you are
money.
helping people.
You got to make some money, guys. That's how it works.
And when I see you guys, I'd love to give you an exam.
Hey, I'm in line for that.
Yeah.
I haven't had mine this month.
I can go with a full cavity
Yeah.
search here. We're good.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
But,
I'll take
but
you up
I'm-
on that.
But I'm an ambassador for Hockey Fights Cancer with the NHL,
I love that.
doing incredible work in cancer research.
And it's
I'm
worked.
a newly appointed ambassador for the V Foundation, Jim Valvano's.
Oh, awesome.
Very cool.
Awesome.
He started in 1993 with ESPN. And so, I'm just encouraging people through those two great organizations. And,
They are doing a great thing.
lots of
Hey,
love.
just quickly, Ovi and Gretzky just happened. I saw you on the NHL channel. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought my takeaway from all of it was how classy Wayne Gretzky was about
He
it.
was classy, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was very classy. He was, when people asked him, like, how do you feel about Ovi breaking your record? And he said, it's the same thing when I was about to break Gordie Howe's record. People would say to my dad, like, well, how do you feel about that? And Wayne's takeaway from all of it was that's how great our game is that records are there to be broken, and it's very humbling. So I just, man, my hat's off to him for being so classy about it.
I felt the same way.
Same,
He
yeah.
was like an ambassador, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
Howe did the same thing for him,
Yeah. Gordie and Wayne became very good friends, and
Yeah.
Gordie was actually a very close friend of mine as well. And I could go on and on with
I
Gordie
bet you got
Howe.
stories on that guy. Yeah.
I do.
Well, listen, we just
bring
want
him
to
back.
thank you for joining us today, and we're so happy for you. And Binder, where'd Binder go?
I don't know.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
You
We
could've
love
left well
Mike.
enough
He's
alone.
got a movie coming up, another big movie that
That Dave's gonna be in.
Dave's in the movie. That's great, man. Well,
I
guys,
played
thank
a proctologist.
A gynecologist?
Hey, that's he's making money before, during, and after the film.
This
Dave
film's
Coulier.
behind me.
Yeah,
Method actor.
there he
We
is.
don't have a craft service table. We got a prostate exam table.
We got,
Yeah.
we got
Wow.
stirrups.
Well,
Yeah, it's called crap service.
yes, crap services. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Dave, great to see you. Binder,
Yeah.
nice
Thank
to
you,
see you
guys.
as well. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Motor
too.
City in the house. There you go. Hold on a second. Can you guys hold on just 1 second? This is Frazer Smith Show. We are presented by the accident attorney, sweetjames.com. If you've been hurt in an accident, call 1-800-9-million, or if you need a colonoscopy, call Dave.